Here, as a specific biological region that happens to a human body at 3 mm, it is not just harnessed. It is a primal alert system. Your brain knows that you are not supposed to be awake. You are finding millions of years of evolution that says the darkest hours, that the silence is a predator, and that being alone when the rest of the hemisphere is much mobile. When you work the graveyard shift, you stop living in the same world as everyone else. The sun goes down, and reality seems to thin out. Shadows stretch longer than they should. Reflections in glass doors seem to lack a split second behind your movements. In Sims, you realize that the silence actually silent. It is waiting. Welcome back to Grim Reality Logs. Heidi, we are clocking in for the ships that nobody wants. These are true accounts from security guards, night auditors, and lonely workers who realize too late that they dear. Nice Owen as Monistay. Story on. I have worked security at the St. Jude Medical Center for 6 years. It is an old facility built in the 1950s with a modern wing slap onto the front like a shiny mask hiding a rotting face. The pay is decent, but the horrors are brutal. My shift runs from 11 p.m. to m. Most people find hospitals creepy at night because of the death. But for me, it is the messiness of the building. The place breathes. The heckler system's ground lags, tiny dividers didn't want empty floors, and the pipes in the walls rattle with water pressure chain. You get used to the noise. You have to, or you will go crazy. My post is usually at the main desk in the lobby, but every hour I have to do a roving patrol. That includes the basement labs. Level B on is the cafeteria and laundry. At level B2 is records and the entrance to the maintenance tunnels. Level B2 is where the air changes. It is always 10 degrees colder down there, and it smells of old paper and copper. It was at Tuesday around 12:15 am. The hospital was quiet. We had a few tremors in the ER upstairs, but the lower levels were dead silent. I took the service elevator down to B2. The doors rattled bopping, revealing the long linoleum hallway bed, and physically I looked in the floors and lights. Got a pal? I started my walk, checking the handles of the storage rooms. Locked. 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 I reached the end of the hall where the pneumatic tube station is located. You know those clear plastic tubes banks to send cash to the driver. Hospitals is a massive network. Those siblings and the simple symbols, fiber work, and medication boards instantly. The station on B2 is well easy. It is mostly for or chiving old physical charts. I was about to turn around and head back to the elevator when I heard it. The distinct hum of the air pressure building up. I froze. The little word light above the receiving bin flickered on. Someone was sending a canister to the basement. I stood there, staring at the clear plastic pipe running along the ceiling. I shook violently as the canister approached. Whoosh! The plastic capsule dropped into the pew, top of the meal basket whirring with Ishnell now. I checked my watch. It's 20 am. The records department was closed. No one should be sending anything down here. I walked over and picked up the canister. It was cold. I twisted the light open. Inside, there was a single piece of paper. A standard patient admission form. But it was blank. I frowned, thinking maybe a nurse on the third floor hit the wrong button. I looked at the routing code on the canister. In bold by marker, it said Wingsy. That is when the hair on my arm stood up. St. Jude does not have an active Wingsy anymore. The West Wing, which is to be Wingsy, was set down for asbestos removal and structural renovation for your debation 4 years ago. It is a construction zone. It is sealed off with padlocks and heavy plastic sheeting. There is no power in that wing. The pneumatic system there should be disconnected. I popped the canister back and grabbed my radio to call the control room. Control, this is unit 4. Did we have any maintenance crew startled for the West Wing tide? The radio crackled. Negative, unit 4. West Wing is sealed. Why? I just left at 2 from there, I said, my voice sounding sicky even to my soul. Impossible, the dispatcher loud. System was dead over there. Probably a glitch from the era rating. Just ignore it. I wanted to believe him. I really did. I turned around to leave, looking briskly back toward the elevator. The sound stopped me dead in my tracks. I turned my head slowly. The red light was blinking and other glister was coming. Pipes rattled harder this time, as if water was traveling through them was heavier than paper. The capsule shot out of the tube and hit the basket with a heavy metallic thud. I did not want to touch it. Every instinct in my body screamed at me to bid that me to get in the elevator. But curiosity is curse. I walked back. Its canister was not labeled Wingdy. It was scratched. You gleamed in the plastic like someone had taken a Kira ache knife and frantically carved it into. The scratches formed crude letters. H, E, O, P. I opened it. Inside, there was no paper. There was a Polaroid photo. It was fresh. I could smell the chemicals. I picked it up by the corner and held it under the flickering yellow light. My stomach dropped. The world tilted on its asses. The photo was of me. It was taken from a high angle, looking down through a ventilation grate. It showed me standing in the hallway of me too, holding the first canister. I looked up at the ceiling. Directly above the tube station, there was a dark, square ventilation shaft. The grate was screened on top. But beyond this, it was pitch black. I dropped the photo. I scrambled for my radio. Control. I am an intruder in the B2 vans. I need backup now. Unit 4, say again. A third canister. This one revived before I could even move. It hit the basket so hard the light pucked. There was nothing inside it. Just a sound from the open mouth of the pneumatic tube, echoing from hundreds of feet away, traveling through the pipes from the avenue, sealed of West Wing. It was electronic. It was acoustics, carrying through the plastic tubing like a tinted telephone. It was a wet, raspy whisper right next to my ear. I can't see your eyes. I didn't wait for the elevator. I ran for the stairwell. I took the stairs 3 at a time, my moose slamming against the concrete until I burst into the lobby, hyperventilating style. We sent a team of fire guards and 2 police officers to sweep the West Wing. They got through the plastic seals. It's our cavalry room. They found nothing. The desk on the floors was undisturbed. The pneumatic tube stations in the West Wing were indeed disconnected, the pipes sort of encapped. But you know what I heard? And I still have the Polaroid. I quit the next morning. I work at a grocery store now. I stock shops during the day. I don't care how little it pays. I will never work a job in real life to be LM to dark. Story 2. I used to work the night shift at a 24-hour gas station off Highway 80 in Nevada. If you have ever driven through Nevada at night, you know what true darkness looks like. There are no streetlights. No houses. Just an endless void of black desert and the occasional pair of coyote afflicting. My station was the only source of life for 50 miles in either direction. It was a small oasis of fluorescent white in a sea of ink. I sat inside a bulletproof glass booth. Waited not like customers inside the store after 10 p.m. All transitions have to be done through the sliding middle drawer. It was for robbery precautions, mostly. When I'm put out there, it felt like it was part of me from something else entirely. It was 3:15 a.m. of Thursday. I was reading a paperback trying to keep my eyes open when the car pulled onto the lot. It was a black sedan. Older model, maybe early 90s. The paint was matte, absorbing the station lights rather than reflecting them. It drove slowly past the pumps near the window and parked at pump 8. Pump 8 is the furthest one away out of the edge of the darkness where the concrete gave to scrubber's crop brush on sand. I watches the car. The engine cut off. The lights turned off. I waited for the driver to bow. Usually, people are in the rush to pump and go. Olga made the bathroom, but the door didn't open. 5 minutes passed. 10:10. The car just sat there, a dark silhouette against the even darker desert. I started to get the prickling feeling on the back of my neck. I grabbed the intercom microphone. Pump aid, you need assistance. My voice echoed across the empty lot, loud and distorted. No movement from the car. I gave it another 10 minutes. Maybe they were asleep. It happens. Jockers in Chabelis Boulevard to nap. But something felt wrong. The car was parked at a strange angle, not quite in the lies, like it had been abandoned mid. I decided to check it out. I knew I shouldn't leave the booth, but curiosity and boredom are a dangerous mix. I unlocked the heavy steel door of the store and started out into. It was dead silent. The wine had stopped. The only sound was the hum of the drink coolers inside behind me. I walked across the lot, my boots crunching on the gravel. Hey, I called out. You can park here if you're not buying gas. I got to the car. The windows were tinted pitch black. I can't see a thing inside. I reached out and tapped on the driver's side glass. No thing. I cut my muck around my face and pressed the beast to peer in. The car was empty. I recalled, confessed. I checked the back seat. Empty. I placed my hand on the hood. It was scorching hot. The engine had been running out for hours. But where was the driver? Here was nowhere to go. It was open desert for miles. If they had walked away, I would have seen them. Had as one, I noticed a footprint. In the dust on the hood of the car, the wine prints. Not on the outside. On the inside of the windshield. Smears and streaks like someone had been frantically pushing against the glass to out. A culture went through me that had nothing to do with the night air. I turned it out to happen to the safety of my boot. I froze. The door to the store Wiki had let close behind me was locked. I had the keys on my belt, but the lights inside the store were flickering. I squinted. Standing behind the counter, inside my locked, bulletproof glass booth, was a man. He was tall, wearing a gray suit that looked 2 sizes too big. He was standing exactly where I had been sitting 5 minutes ago. He wasn't looking at the register. He was looking directly at me, through the window, across the parking lot. He slowly raised out the hand and waved. A stiff missional wave? Didn't think. I didn't breathe. Ran. I ran past the store, onto the highway, and I didn't stop sprinting until he saw the headlights of a sim truck a mile down the road. I flagged the trucker down, screaming like a lunatic. When the state trooper swung back to the station an hour later, the black sedan was gone. The store was locked. My book was still on the counter, open to page 104. The security tape showed me walking out to the car. They showed me tapping on the window. But when the camera angle switched to the interior view, the booth was empty the entire time. But I know what I saw. And sometimes, when I am driving alone at night and I see a gas station in the middle of now, it drive right past. I don't care if I am running on themes. Story 3. Seattle is a city of rain and glass. I working as the night concierge for a corporate here is down now. 40 stores of steel and organs. During the day, the lobby is alive with suits and caffeine. At night, it is mausoleum. My desk was a marble eyes in the center of a cavernous lobby with large ceiling windows. On rainy nights, the whole building felt like it was underwater. It was a Tuesday around 2 a.m. Storm was hammering the glass. The wind was so strong I could feel the building slightly. Had as a normal engineering feature for skyscrapers, but it still makes you sick if you think about it too hard. The phone on my desk rang. It wasn't the external line. It was the internal line. The digital display lit up. Extension 420 long. I stared at the screen. The 42nd floor. The 42nd floor is the penthouse level, but it has been vacant for leasing for 6 months. It is an empty shell. No furniture, no cubicles, floors, exposed pillars. The phones up there were disconnected weeks ago. I picked up the receiver. Security desk, this is Miller. Static. Heavy, rolling static, like the sound of ocean wave. Hell, I say. Is anyone there? Right of static, a voice cut through. It was small, high-pitched, a child's voice. It is too dark. My grip tightened on the phone. Who is this? How did you get there? The door swung open. The child said it. They sounded calm. So calm. I can't find the button. Please let me out. Listen to me, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. Stay right where you are. I am sending the elevator up. Do not move. I hung up and looked at the elevator control panel on my desk. We have 4 main cars. Car 1 was sitting on the ground floor. I keyed in the override descended to 4 Dubai. I watched the digital numbers above the elevator doors. What? Oh. 3. It shone up quickly. I grabbed my flashlight in the master key card. I waited for the car to come back down. But then I heard a ding. I looked at the panel. Car 2 next to a suggestivated. It was on the 14th floor. I hand called it. The numbers on core 2 started through D to singer. 40 how? 40 on. 40. It stopped. Long pace. And it started 8. Third time. Party idea. It was stopping at every single floor. I backed away from the desk. Hello. I called out to the empty lobby. The phone rang. Same extension. I picked it up, my hands shaking. He is coming down, the child whispered. Whoa? I demand. Whoa is coming down. The man who popped me in the wall. The line went dead. I looked at the elevator. Car 2 was at floor 20 now. Still stopping at every floor. Ding. 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 It was a rhythmic countdown down. I realized with horror that it wasn't stopping to let someone on. It was hunting. It was searching. 10. 9. 80. I couldn't move. I stood paralyzed in the center of the lobby, watching the gold numbers tick down. 3. 2. On. The bell chimed, a cheerful, welcoming sound that echoed lovely in the silence. The heavy brace doors of car 2 slide open. I show my flashlight into the car, basing myself for a gunman, a monster, anything. It was empty. Completely empty. I let out a breath I didn't know I was holding. Not semi-versal. A malfunction. Just a glitch in the stutter. And I looked down at the floor of the elevator cab. In the center of the carpet, tier was a puddle of water. Raider! And leading out of the elevator onto the pristine marble of the lobby, we'll wait for Prince. Hey wall, lash. Heavy boot trends. Fading lit toward the front door. He led around the side of the elevator bang. Powered my desk. And then the phone on my desk one right next to mirroring aim. Added were that answer it. I ran out the front rebuilding doors, into the rain, and called the police from the Starbucks across the street. Hey, Sarge, the building. They founding on the Floridskin floor of septure of wet, couch of wet concrete in the corner that had never dried properly. But here is the part that keeps me up at night. When the police checked the elevator locks, they said car 2 never moved. Acting to the computer it had in the lobby the entire night. But I saw 2 numbers change. And the next day, when the cleaning crew came in, they complained about muddy boot prints circling the securely discarded. Over and over. Like someone had been walking in circles around my chair, watching me while I started the elevator. Story 4. Warehouses are liminal space. They are not designed for humans, they are designed for logistics. I work at a massive fulfillment center in Ohio. The footprint of the building is the size of 20 football fields. It is algorithm of conveyor belt, robotic arms, and towering metal shelf stacked for 5 feet high with carbon masset. I work the pick line in Sector D. My job is simple. A spanner tells me where an item is. I walk to the shelf, scan it, put it in the yellow tote, and send it down the conveyor. It is grueling work, but the worst part is the isolation. The warehouse is mostly automated. The robust toast little ray jive units bimus did the heavy lifting in the central cage. Humans are only needed at the edges, in the racking holes. It was 3:30 a.m. The shift was almost over. I was in AL 304. It is a long, narrow canyon of shelves. The lights are motion activated to save energy. As he walks, flicker on above you and turn off behind you. You exist in a bubble of light surrounded by darkness. I was scanning a box of dog food when I heard it. Pod. A heavy, dull sound. Like a sack of flour hitting the concrete. I passed, standard in hand. Hello. Silence. Just the distant hum of the conveyor belt a mile away. I looked down the aisle. The lights were off. Just a line tunnel black. And at the very full end of the ice, maybe 300 feet away, light flicker on. Someone had triggered the motion sensor. Hey, maintenance. I called out. The light stayed on for 10 seconds, then clicked up. 10 eggs like closer to me flickered on. Someone was walking toward me. I'd waited. I figured it was a supervisor doing a walkthrough. But the spacing was wrong. The lights were triggering too slowly. A human walks at about 3 miles per hour. Rather, it was moving. Deliberately, click. The third light came on, but you can't see anyone under it. The easel was empty. I squinted. The sensor had detected movement, but there was nothing there. Click. 4 flight. Laser. My heart started to hammer against my ribs. The pattern was consistent. Light on. Empty floor. Light up. It was about 100 feet away now. I realized it then I was looking at the floor. I was expecting for prints. I was expecting a person. I looked up. The shelves go up 40 feet. The motion sensors hang from the ceiling. The sound came at him. Odd. It wasn't coming from the ground. It was coming from the shelf. Something was climbing. It was moving along the top of the racking, swinging from the separate beams, triggering the light system went. I dropped my center. The noise echoed like a gunshot. The rhythm of the lights chant. Click. 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 It sped up. It was charging. I didn't wait to see what it was. I turned and sprinted toward the main cambio line. The lights above me flicker frantically as he ran, struggling to keep up with my pace. Behind me, I heard a trouble sound. It was the sound of cardboard tearing. Massive, heavy boxes were being shoved off the shelves, crashing to the floor in my way. It was destroying the aisle to get to me. I burst out of aisle 304 and ilted soaring up where the art workers were. I was gasping for air, white as a sheet. My manager, Dave, looked at me. You okay, man? You look like you've seen a ghost. Something in G. I whizzed. On the shelves. Dave rolled his E's. Probably a raccoon. We've had them cat and throw the loading docks. We went back to check. I refused to go Oland, so they brought a flashlight. 8,304 was a whack. Dozens of boxes were scattered on the floor. Dog food, books, electronics smash it. See, Dave said, kicking a bag of kibble. Rock and probably not all over, got scared and knocked the rest down. He shone his flashlight up to the top of the racking. Wait, he said. He focused the beam on a separate beam 30 feet up. Here were claw marks. Deep scratches in the powder-coated steel. Feel that is designed to hold tons of weight. And stuck in the jagged metal was a piece of fabric. It looked lithe in him. That's not a raccoon, Dave whispered. We never found out what it was. Security checked the cameras, but the footage from aisle 304 was cropped for a permanent window. Just date. I transferred until the D-shift the next week. But sometimes, when I am in the break room, I hear the nice SIF guys talking. Hey, take Bob the spider of Secker of Z. Hey, say, if you stand perfectly still, you can hear breathing inside the boxes. Story 5. I worked as site auditor at the Grand Hawthorne. It is a boutique place built in 1920. Lots of brass, velvet, and dark wood. It smells like old money and dust. The job is 90% boredom and 10% dealing with drunk girls too, Philosopher Keith. It was a rainy Tuesday night. The hotel was at low occupancy. Maybe 20% full. At midnight, the front doors fell open. A woman walked in. Sea was striking. She wore a long, vintage trench coat that was soaking wet. Her hair was plastered to her face. She didn't have any luggage. No purse. Just her hands in her pocket. She walked straight at the desk. She didn't look at me. She looked at the wall of keys by me. Back in the day, we used physical metal keys. Now we use cards, but we kept the old key rack for decoration. Jacking in, I aced, butting on my customer service smile. Room 212, she said. Her voice was flat. Monotone. I typed on my keyboard. Do you a reservation? Till 12, she repeated. I checked the system. Ma'am, room 212 is currently out of order. It's undergoing maintenance for a pumping issue. I can forward you in 214. in a better view. She finally looked at me. Her eyes were incredibly pale, almost gray. 212 is my room. She slammed a wad of cash on the counter. Damp $100 bills. I hesitated. The customer is always light. The system wouldn't even let me ace in a key card through that room. I can give you a key, ma'am. The lock is visible electronically. She smiled. It was a tight, unnatural smile. I don't need a key. She turned and walked toward the elevator. Ma'am, you can't go up there. I gilled out. She stepped into the elevator and the doors closed. I immediately called security, which was just an old guy named Earl who slept in the back office. Earl, we have a winner. Rang to the second floor. Errol crumbled and went to the stairs. I watches the elevator monitor. The car stopped on the second floor. 10 minutes passed. Al radioed me. Helenway is clear. No one here. Check room till 12, I said. It's locked, Earl said. Electronic lock is dead, remember? I can even override it. She says she didn't need a key. I mattered. And how went by. The lobby was quiet. Then the phone rang. Front desk. Noise complained, a man's voice said. He sounded groggy. Room shut down. The people next door in 212. They're arguing. Loudly. Me blood ran cold. Sir, room 212 is empty. The hell it is, he snapped. It sounds like they're throwing furniture against the wall. Does something or am calling the cops. I grabbed the master physical key, the emergency, overs the word, the devices, the electronics and ran up the stairs. I met Earl on the second floor. We could hear it from the end of the hall. Crash. Smash. It sounded like a war zone in Siren 212. Earl pulled his bait in. I jammed the metal key in the lock and turned it. The mechanism clicked. I kicked his door open. Silence. Instant, total silence. The room was pristine. The bed was made. The two walls were folded. The desk on the nightstand was undisturbed. No woman. No wet coat. No smashed furniture. What the? Errol lowered his baton. We walked in. The bathroom was dry. The closet was empty. The windows were painted shut. Must having the pipes, Errol said, trying to realize it. With a hammer. I looked out at the carpet near the door. Here were footprints. Wet footprints. But they weren't coming into the room. They started at the center of the room, near the bed, and walked toward the door where Whale was standing. They stopped right in front of my toes. I looked up at Earl. He was staring at the mirror above the dresser. Kitty had whispered, "Look." I looked. With an English steam on the mirror steam there shouldn't exist because the shower hadn't been ran over. Get out. And then the door slammed shut behind. The lock clicked. We screamed. We pounded on the door for 5 minutes until the guest in 210 came out and opened it from the outside. He said the door wasn't locked. I checked the records the next day. Room 212 had had a ban of order for 10 years. Ever since a woman drowned in the bathtub in 1995. Her name was Eliza. She checked in on a rainy Tuesday. Story 6. Here is a kind of silence that only exists above the key line. I spent a summer working as a fire lookout in the Cascades. My home was a 14 by 14 4chan Fort cabin on top of a 60-foot steel tower. I was miles from the nearest road and even farther from the nearest town. My job was to watch for smoke. I spent my days spanning the horizon with binoculars and my nice reading by candlelight. We had solar power died to serve it for the radio. I knows my ducks. The force Y has a bond. The fire they know was extreme. The air was thick with haze from wildfires whirling through Safe River. I woke up at 2 a.m. I don't know what woke me. Maybe the wind shifted. Maybe a bird hit the window. I sat up in my sleeping bag and looked out the windows that surrounded me on all four sides. It was a moonless night. The forest below was a black ocean. Then I saw it. A light. I was deep in the valley, maybe 3 miles to the north. A single white point of light. It wasn't a camphor. It was too steady, too bit of white. It looked like an LED flashlight. I grabbed my binoculars. The light was stationary. Its fan, it blinked. Flash. Flash. Pals. A flash. It was signaling. I grabbed my notepad and a pen. I know Morse code. It is part of the training. Long. Long. Short. Long. Key. Short. Long. Short. It was gibberish. I watched it for 5 minutes. The letters made no sense. Just random blinking. I keyed my radio. Dispatch, this is Tower 4. I have a visual on a hiker with a flashlight in Sector North 3. Possible distress signal, but the code is unintelligible. Static. Tower 4, copy. We have no permits to shoot for the sector. It is restricted wilderness. Keep eyes on it. I paused binoculars. Back up. The light was gone. I scanned the darkness. Had the battery died? A new light popped on. This one wasn't 3 miles away. It was maybe half a mile away. Right at the edge of the clearing where my tower stood. It was the same blue-white intensity. My heart skipped a beat. How did they cover 3 miles in 30 seconds? That is impassable. The terrain down there is dense underbrush and ravines. The live-linked agent. Short. 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 S. Long. 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 Oh. Short. 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 S. Okay. That is clear. Distress. I grabbed the big spotlight mounted on the catwalk railing and aimed at the light. I flicked it on. The beam cut through the darkness, illuminating the tops of the pine trees. There was nothing there. No person. No tent. Just trees. I turned the spotlight off. Immediately, a flashlight beam back at me. But this time, it wasn't coming from the ground. It was coming from the tree line, a pale 20 feet up in the air. It froze. Was someone in a tree? The third light turned on. To my fast. A fourth light to my right. Hay wells surrounding the tower. And then they started to move. They were moving up and down like someone walking. They were gliding smoothly toward the base of my tower. I locked the cabin door. I know it sounds spitted is a glass box, but it was the only barrier I had. I grabbed the radio. Dispatch. They are at the tower. Multiple lies. They are moving fast. Tower 4, clarify. Who was at the tower? I don't know. They are climbing. I heard the metallic clang of the ladder blow to meet us on the steel steps. Clang, clang, clang. Heavy, rhythmic footstep ringing through the metal structure. The hall tower vibrates slightly with each step. I backed him to the center of the room, clutching a flare gun. It was the only weapon I had. The lights outside had turned off. All of them. Now, there was the sound of the climbing. Closer. They were at the midway landing. Closer. Here were at the trapdoor on the catwalk. I aimed the flare gun at the door. I am armed. I screamed. Zonat, come up here. The footsteps stopped terrors. Right at the top of the ladder. Just out the thin glass wall. Silence returning. Hat heavy, a burst of mountain silence. I waited. My hands were shaking so bad I almost dropped the gun. 10. A light turned on. It was pressed directly against the glass of the door. But it wasn't a flashlight. It was a glowing from inside something. It was bioluminescent. It illuminated a face. If you can call it a face. It was pale, hairless, with skin stretched to thigh or the skull. It had no nose, just the two slits. And its eyes. Its eyes were the source of the light. Two glowing blue-eyed ribs that stared right through me. It didn't blink. It didn't speak. It just watched. It raised a hand ahead with two my fingers and tapped on the glass. Up, tap, tap, SOS, and then a smile. A wide, toothless smile that split its face, its beta. We see you, a voice whispered. It didn't come from outside. It came from my radio, which was turned off. I fired the flare gun through the glass. The Maxium burst exploded on the catwalk, blindingly bright. I screamed and scrambled under the desk, covering my ears. When the smoke cleared, the catwalk was empty. The glass was shattered. The railing was scorched. But on the steel floor of the catwalk, burned into the metal by something far harder to than a flare. It had 7 fingers. He never found anything. He said it had a breakdown from the isolation. They said it was hallucination induced by altitude sickness. He vacuumed me the next morning. But I know the truth. I kept the radio recording. The dispatch logs are empty. But on my personal tape, right at the end of the static, you can hear it. Not a whisper. A chorus. We see, new. I don't go camping anymore. And I sleep with the light on. Because the scariest thing isn't being in the dark. It is finding out that you were never alone to begin with. So, the next time you are working late and the coffee is cold and the office is quiet, listen. Listen to the hum of the fridge, the settling of the building, the wind into the glass. Is that just the building? Or is it the shift? If you want to get these locks open, leave a like and subscribe to Grim Reality Locks. Let me know in the comments which story kept your eye off tonight. Stay safe.